नमस्कार, मैं हूं अनामिका सिंह. I am a senior research fellow from Regional Institute of Education, Mysuru. So we have joined here in order to discuss CTET exam के preparation के लिए हमारा social science question paper. So we will be looking in the previous year question paper from July 2024. So we will discuss this particular question paper in two parts, and let us get into it without further ado. So the first question is, in a physical map of India, if you have to locate the Deccan Plateau, it will be represented by the color. The options are orange, brown, green or yellow. So in a physical map of India, they will represent the various kinds of landforms in various types. So whether it is land, water or oceans, they will be assigning a particular color to it. So when we are talking about Deccan Plateau, it will be represented with yellow color. So moving on to the next question. Choose the measures to control soil erosion and depletion from the following. So they have given us four measures, and then which of these are contributing for soil erosion and depletion. Let us look at the mulching, overgrazing, terrace farming and intercropping. So from all of these four, we need to tell which will help us to control soil erosion and also avoid depletion of the soil. So as we all know, overgrazing is one of the reasons for soil erosion. So the right answer here will be A, C and D. These three methods or measures, they actually contribute to enhancing the fertility of the soil by adding topmost layer, which is called mulching. We will be adding organic material on top layer of the soil. And then in terrace farming, it is considered as one of the ways with which we can conserve soil erosion. And then intercropping, it enhances the quality of the soil or the fertility of the soil. So the right answer here would be option 2. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following sentences A and B about motions of the earth and choose the correct option. So this question is about the motion of earth. So the first one is, rotation is the movement of the earth on its axis. This statement is true. The next one is, the axis of the earth, which is an imaginary line, makes an angle of 32.5 degrees with its orbital plane. This statement is false. So the right option here is only statement A is correct. Let us look into it a little bit more. So rotation is defined as the movement of the earth spinning on its own axis. The rotation takes approximately 24 hours to complete and is responsible for the occurrence of day and night. When we came across the statement 2, so here the axis of the earth, it makes an angle of 66.5 degrees with its orbital plane and not 33.5, and additionally it is tilted at an angle of 23.5 from the perpendicular to the orbital plane. So this thing you can remember in order to answer these questions about at what axis or what angle is the earth located with respect to its orbital plane. Now the next question is, Watan Jagirs were given by Akbar to which of the following chiefs? The first one is Sikhs, Marathas, Sisodia Rajputs and Indian Muslims. So during the Akbar's reign, he has associated with a lot of Rajputs and have given them Watan Jagirs. So the right answer here is Sisodia Rajputs. Next question. Consider the statements A and B about paramountcy and choose the correct answer. So here the concept that we are discussing about is paramountcy. So the company claimed that its authority was not supreme, and then in order to protect company interest, it was justified in annexing or threatening to annex any Indian kingdom. So if you see, the first statement is wrong, it is actually the opposite. That is true. So here the right answer will be option 4, that is A is false but statement B is true. So company was ready and then it was interested in a kingdom, so it had given an order to protect the company's interest, it can annex or threaten to annex any Indian kingdom. Moving on to the next question. Match the following concepts in column 1 with their examples in column 2 and choose the appropriate option. So we need to match the concepts with the examples here. So discrimination, inequality, stereotype and prejudice are the 4 concepts given, and the examples are differential pay for the same work, villagers are superstitious, women not allowed to be hired since she is starting a family, girls are good at cooking. So if you see stereotype, that is C option, which is associated with girls are good at cooking. This is an example of an stereotype. So if you do connect C with 4, we can easily make out which is the right answer, and the right answer is option 4. So here an example for discrimination would be woman not allowed to be hired since she is starting a family. Example for inequality would be differential pay for the same work. A prejudice is highlighted in the second example, villagers are superstitious. Let us now look at the next question. Consider the 2 given statements A and R and choose the appropriate options. Those places west of Greenwich will be behind of Greenwich time. The earth rotates from east to west and sun rises early in eastern side. So when you read both of these statements and also see whether they are true by themselves or false by themselves and whether R is the correct explanation of A, we can clearly make out the right answer here is the statement A is true but B is false, or the R is false because it is actually the opposite. So we have understood the concept of Earth's rotation and the direction also. So this second statement, the Earth rotates from east to west and sun rises early in the eastern side, is false. Moving on to the next question. A population pyramid with big base and skinny top shows high birth rates, high death rates in higher age group, relatively large number of young population, and large number of deaths of infants. So population pyramid is also one of the important topics when it comes to your preparation for CTET examination. So you need to remember that a population pyramid with a big base and a skinny top will highlight that there is high birth rate. The number of people in the infancy stage are more. So the statements given here, statement A will hold true, and when statement A holds true, the large number of deaths of the infants will automatically be considered false. So if you try to use elimination and come to the right answer here, you will get to the option, that is option 2, A, B and C. So statements A, B and C are correct when it comes to talking about a population pyramid with big base and skinny top. Moving on to the next question. Match the following pairs and choose the appropriate option. So we have different kinds of rocks in front of us and we need to tell how they have originated or how they get formed. So the first one is igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. We have also discussed rock cycle in our previous year question discussions. So rocks, this particular concept also becomes important for CTET exam. So let us now see the origin or formation. Change under great heat and pressure, molten magma, deposition by wind and water. So there is a small trick or some keyword that you can remember. Igneous rocks are always formed by molten or magma. Igneous, igneous, so fire you can relate to molten magma. So if you connect A with second, molten magma, we have one option here which is highlighting that is option 2. So option 2 is the correct answer, and the sedimentary rocks are originated or formed by deposition by wind and water, and the metamorphic rocks are formed or originated from the change under great heat and pressure. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following statements are correct about the Amazon basin? This region is characterized by hot and wet climate throughout the year. People practice slash and burn agriculture here. People mainly grow paddy. Aircrafts and helicopters are also used for reaching various places in the basin. So here if you see, some of the statements are true and only one of the statement is false. So based on the kind of climate it is having, it will not be suitable for growing paddy. So the right answer here would be only A, B and D statements are true, and the statement C, that is people mainly grow paddy, is false about the Amazon basin. Let us move on to the next question. Consider the following statements about Ladakh and choose the correct option. Several rivers flow through Ladakh. Due to high altitude, the climate is extremely cold. Despite being in the rain shadow of Himalayas, there is high rainfall. This area experiences freezing winds and burning hot sunlight. So if you look at all of these statements that are in front of us and try to recall what kind of physiological division Ladakh come under and what are the basic characteristics of the weather conditions there or the climatic conditions there, the right answer here would be option 4. A, B and D statements are correct, but C statement is not true. So let us move on to the next question. The Indian National Congress in the early years raised a number of economic issues against the British. Choose the correct option here. The Congress declared that the British rule had led to poverty and famines. It demanded reduction of revenue and cut in military expenditure. Congress demanded more funds for irrigation. It raised the voice against entertainment tax. So this is a question which is talking about what role or what were some of the economic issues that the Indian National Congress brought or spoke about against the Britishers. So if you look at all the options that are given here, the correct answer is 1, 2 and 3. Clearly it did not raise voice against entertainment tax. So the first, second and third statements are true. These were some of the issues that the Indian National Congress raised. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following is true about Ashoka's Dhamma? It did not involve worship of a god. It did not involve performance of a sacrifice. The ideas of Dhamma were inspired by the teachings of Buddha. Ashoka appointed Buddhist monks to teach people about Dhamma. So if you look at these 4 options, this is a particular question about Ashoka's Dhamma. So we can clearly make out that there is one option which is wrong, that is C. So here the answer would be only statements A, B and C are correct. He did not. So there is an error that occurred here. So the next question is, which of the following is true about Ashoka's Dhamma? It did not involve worship of a god. It did not involve performance of a sacrifice. The ideas of Dhamma were inspired by the teachings of Buddha. And the fourth one, Ashoka appointed Buddhist monks to teach people about Dhamma. So when it comes to Ashoka's Dhamma, 3 of the statements here are true and 1 statement is false, which is the statement D. So the right answer here would be option 4. A, B and C statements are true and the 4th statement is false. Moving on to the next question. Below are 2 statements A and B in the context of Sri Narayan Guru. He advocated equality of all within a single sect or caste. He inspired all of them to have faith in all gurus. So if you read both of these statements and think about the teachings of Sri Narayan Guru or what he has advocated or spoken about, we can see here that only one statement, which is the B statement, it is true, whereas he did not advocate equality of all within a single sect or caste. So statement A is false and statement B is true. Moving on to the next question. Here we have to match the following in the context of people and objects in the ancient times and choose the appropriate options. So some of these particular concept or context of people are repeated from other question papers as well, like the Shrenis, the Arentine ware and the Grihapatis, which we have already discussed. So if you remember, the Grihapatis are people who are independent farmers. The Arentine ware is a stamped red glazed pottery. Shrenis are associations of craft persons and merchant, and Brigaza, which was earlier called otherwise, is the Bharuch, which is in Gujarat. So the right answer here would be option 1. A is connected to 2. B. Shrenis is association of craft persons and merchants. C. Arentine ware is stamped red glazed pottery. And Grihapatis are independent farmers. So this is also an important concept when it comes to preparation of CTET exam. Let us look at the next question. Which layer of the atmosphere has very thin layer of air? The thermosphere, the exosphere, the stratosphere and the mesosphere. This is a concept of geography. This is a very direct and easy question. So the right answer here is exosphere. Moving on to the next question. Who coined the phrase unity in diversity? We say that India is a country which promotes unity in diversity. So this particular phrase was coined by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Let us move on to the next question. Which of the following statements are true about technological development in temple construction from the 12th century? The weight of the superstructure was carried by shikara. Sandstone mixed with stone chips was increasingly used in construction. So, sandstone is actually not the one which is mixed with stone chips. It is not used in the construction of the temples. So, the right answer here is both A and B. Both of these are incorrect statements. Moving on to the next question. Which one of the following is not correct for Grama Bhojaka? Usually, men from the same family held the position for generations. He had slaves and hired workers to cultivate the land. The king often used him to collect taxes from the village. He did not function as a judge and policeman. So, Grama Bhojaka did 3 of these things. Now we need to identify which is not correct about him. So the right answer here is option 4. He did not function as a judge and policeman, and all the 3 other statements are true about Grama Bhojaka. Now let us look at the next question. The category erstwhile princely states was applicable. Option A. At the time of independence around 1947-48 only. Between 1947-48 and 1956, when they were recognized as administrative units. In the post-1956, when they were no longer retained as administrative units. To none, as no such category existed. We can clearly rule out option 4, and the right answer here is between 1947-48 and 1956. All of these princely states were also recognized as administrative units. Moving on to the next question. Women were taught at home in 19th century colonial India because they could study as well as do domestic duties. People believed that going out of public places would corrupt them. People wanted to hide the fact of their education from relatives and friends. So if you look at the statements that are given here, it is talking about women education in the colonial period. So the right answer here will not include the last statement, which is people wanted to hide the fact of their education from relatives and friends. So here option 1 is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Who among the following edited newspaper Kesari, which became one of the strongest critics of the British rule? So this particular newspaper was written in Marathi language and was very popular, and it had strong critical views about the British rule. So the right answer here is this particular paper was written and edited by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Moving on to the next question. Match the following columns and choose the appropriate option. So here they have spoken about the sphere of the earth and also the feature that is comprising that particular sphere. So here these are some of the terminologies that we discuss in geography. So let us look at what are the various spheres of the earth: lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere and biosphere. So when you see, you can do this question by pointing out to what you know directly, what you can understand from the word itself. Like biosphere, it will talk about life. Hydrosphere, it will definitely talk about water. So if you are able to just identify the key words and start by eliminating the other options. So if we see biosphere, so D is associated with the feature 1, plant and animal kingdom. So it is available in which option? It is only available in the second option, and hence that will be the right answer here. So lithosphere is basically made up of rocks and minerals. The hydrosphere is various sources of water. The atmosphere is the thin layer of air. And the biosphere, which helped us to find the correct answer here, is consisting of, or it features, the plant and animal kingdom. So this is the correct answer here. Moving on to the next question. Below are two statements A and B in the context of leather workers in 19th century. During the First World War, there was a huge demand for shoes for the armies. And B, the poor people from ordinary castes saw this as an opportunity and were ready to supply shoes for the army. So now we need to tell whether both of these statements are true or false, or one is true and one is false. So when we read the statements itself, we can make out that only statement A is true and statement B is false. Moving on to the next question. The Mughal revenue system, with its own schedule of revenue rates for individual crops, was called Jagir, Zabt, Zat, Ikta. So when you look at these four terminologies, and when we talk about the Mughal revenue system, which is also one of the important topics when we are discussing about the history part of social sciences. So Jagir is not that, and then there are various kind of revenue system, but this particular revenue system wherein the crops are evaluated and based on that the revenue rates are decided. So the right answer here is option 2, Zabt. Moving on to the next question. The opening time of central government offices in India is 9 a.m. Indian Standard Time. What will be the local time of opening of the central government offices located 80° east longitude near Chennai and 92° 45 minutes east longitude near Itanagar respectively? So this is a particular concept of geography. It is talking about the longitudes and also directions and time. So let us see how we can solve this particular question. So first we need to recall the concept of Indian Standard Time and the rule of longitude. So the Indian Standard Time is based on 82 degrees and 30 minutes or 82.5 degrees east longitude, and the rule of 1 degree longitude is 4 minutes. So the places east of Indian Standard Time are ahead of IST and the places west are behind the IST. So for Chennai, if we want to calculate, so difference between the Indian Standard Time meridian would be 82 degrees 30 minutes east minus 80 degrees east, which is 2 degrees and 30 minutes, 2.5 degrees. The time difference will be then 2.5 into 10, that is 10 minutes. Since Chennai is in the west, we will subtract this time and come to the conclusion that is 8:50 a.m. For Itanagar, it is 92 degrees 45 minutes east. Difference from IST meridian, we will subtract this and we will come to the number 10 degrees and 15 minutes, that is 10.25. So to calculate the time difference, we will multiply 10.25 into 4, that is 41 minutes. And since Itanagar is in the east of IST meridian, we will add this particular time to 9 am, which is 9:41 am. Therefore, Chennai will be at 8:50 am and Itanagar 9:41 am. So the correct option here will be option 3. Moving on to the next question. The government has passed laws that made it mandatory for organization with more than dash women employees to provide creche facilities. So this is a particular facility that the government has brought in for the women folks who are in the working environment, and the right answer here which we need to remember is 30. So if there are 30 employees, the government has passed the rule that mandatorily the organization should provide creche facilities to the women employees there. Moving on to the next question. The rocks that were formed 300 million years after the earth was formed is. So read the question again. The rocks that were formed 300 million years after the earth was formed is considered as youngest rock in the world, located in Western Australia, located in Eastern Europe, and located in the Himalayan region. So the right answer, this question involves us to remember these facts. So right answer here is that it is located in Western Australia. Coming to the next question. Archaeologists play an important role in deciphering history. Which one of the following choices is incorrect about their nature of work? So this is the last question of our discussion. So this is talking about the role that the archaeologists are playing when it comes to deciphering history. So let us look at the options here. Study the remains of buildings, paintings and sculptures. Explore and excavate tools, weapons, pots, pan, etc. Look for bones of animals, birds and fish, and examine the written records. So we know that archaeologists dig deeper, they go and excavate and they go to the field and try to understand things, whereas the historians are the ones who go through the written records and then try to understand the history and how it has unfolded. So in which of it is not the nature of their work is what we need to identify. So the last option, that is examine the written records, is not the correct answer here. So the option 4 we will mark as a choice here. So with this, we have come to the end of the discussion in this particular series. So we have solved some of the questions from Social Science Paper 2 for CTET. And we will meet in the next session to continue solving some more PYQs questions which are important for us when it comes to preparation for CTET examination. You need to make sure that we try to solve more and more questions and also have a good hold on the content that is present in our NCERT textbooks. So the CTET exams syllabus, it consists of topics from the old NCERT textbooks. So make sure that you go through them before attempting the CTET examination. We will meet in the next session in order to discuss more PYQs. Thank you.